The Long, Lazy Lunch by Barrie Mahoney. I'm not quite sure why I remember this story from a few years ago, but industrial action is currently very much on my mind. It's a very hot summer. We already have a hosepipe ban where I live, and many unions are, quite rightly in my opinion, in dispute with government for failing to address their demands for increases in pay and improvements in their working conditions. Teachers, nurses, doctors, university academics, postal and railway workers are all taking industrial action, and there are more strikes to come. Once upon a time, there was a Spanish civil servant, an engineer, who was asked to collect an award after 20 years of loyal service to the Spanish state. On further investigation by his superiors, it turned out that he'd not appeared for work for the last 6 years. Although this could possibly be as many as 14 years, no one's quite sure. Someone seemed to remember him popping out for lunch one day, but then all recollections of him after his siesta appear rather hazy. The 69-year-old engineer worked for a Spanish municipality, but was later seconded to the local water board, where he was asked to supervise a wastewater treatment plant. Quite an important job, given that the good people of the municipality rather appreciate having clean water. Now, fast forward to 2012, when the engineer was due to collect a long service award. This was when the deputy mayor, who had recruited him in 1990, wondered where he was. He hadn't seen the engineer for some time, yet he was on the payroll. Maybe he had died. No, the engineer had not died, but was living quite happily and continuing to draw his annual salary of around €27,000 a year. The engineer was eventually found and challenged, but could not answer a few basic questions such as, "What did you do yesterday?" or even, "What did you do last month?" The engineer, who was suffering from depression, was stuck for words. This week, a court fined the engineer the equivalent of 1 year of his annual salary, since it seemed that he'd not occupied his office for at least 6 years, although it could be as many as 14 years. No one had noticed, or it seemed, cared. Actually, that's rather sad, isn't it? In his defence, the engineer claimed that he might not have kept business hours since he was a victim of workplace bullying. He had a family to support and felt that he would not get another job at his time of life. In their defence, the council thought the engineer was the responsibility of the water board, whilst the water board thought he was the responsibility of the municipality. It was a rather grey area. Meanwhile, I'm wondering who was the engineer's line manager, and whether they skipped work as well. Of greater concern to the good people of the municipality, I imagine, is whatever happened to supervising the wastewater treatment plant. Maybe the water quality in that area has been a little suspect for the last 14 years. Anyway, readers will be pleased to know that the engineer put his spare time to very good use. He spent it by studying philosophy and is now an expert on the works of Spinoza, the Dutch philosopher, to whom we give thanks for laying the foundations of the Enlightenment. So, that's all right then. I always did like a happy ending, although I really cannot say whether the engineer received the Long Service Award. And yes, this is a true story. Now, back to all those strikes in the UK. You have been listening to The Long Lazy Lunch by Barrie Mahoney, which is part of the Letters from the Atlantic series. If you'd like to find out more about me and my books, please go to my website www.barriemahoney.com, and thank you for listening.